All right, welcome back to the show. We're talking about your family's financial life. I'm Arif Halaby, Total Financial Solutions, Safer Money Hour on your place for news talk, information, ideas, concepts. That's KHTS, your hometown station. Okay, so what is it when we talk about the financial conversation with you and a financial professional, maybe an advisor, maybe a financial accountant, or somebody in your life that's that third party, maybe bounce some ideas off of. Number one, consider taking your college person, grad, with you. Take that young person, 22, 25, with you to your meetings. Hopefully you have a meeting at least once a year, maybe more often, depending on where you are financially in your retirement life. But you need to know, can I bring that young person? Well, most of the time the answer is yes, and you should be able to. And when you do that, you want to have them ask questions, take notes. If they're going to sit there just to placate you and they're going to look at the ceiling or text on their phone or be bored, then don't take them. You disrespect the financial professional's time, and certainly maybe you misunderstood the depth of importance this is to your 20-something. If they are interested, if they truly are taking the adult reins by the horns, then I would say bring them, have them come and learn. That's one idea.
Well, and it's a great opportunity to have somebody other than your parent tell you something of value and importance. I can't tell you how many times I heard something as a child from my parents and went, and then somebody else said the same thing, and all of a sudden it clicked. Maybe it was a timing thing, maybe it was the delivery, but I can tell you it doesn't really matter how they get the information. The important part is that they get the information. So being in on this and sparking some curiosity, I think those are really wonderful things. And if you can share some of your personal financial successes and maybe even some of the not so successful times, that can give them that experience before they ever have to get there and deal with those situations. It also helps a young person not be scared to either save and say, look, I don't spend all my money, son or daughter, and here's why. Here's the reason behind why when I say we can't afford it right now, or we don't do certain things, or I don't drive a brand new car every couple years. It's because I'm working on these other goals. And you have somebody else, you're showing them that somebody else is helping be a coach in that corner. Because look, you're a great father or mother or whatever you do at work, you're all those things, but not everybody's an expert with money.
Yeah,
and so you
point.
seek somebody else's advice for that, somebody that is an expert with finance, and then that also teaches them to trust others and build a financial team for themselves.
One of the biggest changes in the financial world as a professional that I've seen with this new millennial and technology change in the last couple of years, and I see it really changing the industry, I think maybe forever, and that is there is a lot more do-it-yourself in that millennial generation. In fact, I was at 3 different stores at the local shopping mall, the Westfield Valencia Town Center, 3 different ones. And at each time I asked about something or a color or a product or whatever it was or a size, and they said, we don't have them, but you can go online. And I thought, well, yeah, but doesn't that take from your store? Well, these are folks that are just getting an hourly wage. They don't care. I don't want to be so blunt, but they don't really care if you buy a lot today or a little, but the store does. And if I can go online and go direct to the manufacturer, then why would I ever come into a brick and mortar place again?
Right.
3 of them, 3 different ones, 3 in a row, and they were all 20-something-year-olds that were recommending that to me as if, one, I didn't know that Amazon or eBay existed or that online shopping. I'm like, no kidding, you can? When did that start? And number 2 is the lack of understanding that the business is designed for sales. Like, how many of those people in sales have ever even read a sales book or attended a sales seminar? And yet, folks, you are a district manager or regional manager, and you are counting on this 22 or 25-year-old to sell something for you so that the numbers are up, so the profits are there, so people keep their jobs, maybe even earn bonuses, so that those things can happen. But how is it that when that takes place, you didn't even have them sit in a sales seminar or in a workshop or in, right? And you're trusting them with a multi-million-dollar brand. I'm sharing that with you because that same mindset I have found in those 3 different stores, I find with millennials today. Just go online. It's all about online.
And Arif, you and I are used to the generation of, oh, you know what? We don't have it on the floor. Let me go in the back and see if we have it in that color or that size or whatever. And I'm thinking of my most recent experience, very similar to yours, where I went in to buy a pair of shoes and I was directed to go online when I didn't find the one that, and they don't know if I'm going to go to eBay or Amazon or some other third-party site and get it from some other vendor. If they were going to direct me to that, they should have walked me through it and said, here, if you're very interested in this, well, let's walk over to the register.
Yes.
And let's buy it from our website. We can have it
That's
delivered
right.
to the store. Then you come back in. Hey, then there's an opportunity.
For free.
Maybe I can get a T-shirt or something else next time I come in because you want me to be there. But that's the process that I think is missing. That's what's missing in today's world. So understanding those types of things is very important, and it's something that I think is kind of a lost art, if you will, with the new generation and the change that's coming. So it's just kind of an interesting dynamic what's happening anymore in the world of business.
And you know what I see? I see giving power to those mid-level employees where you say, come over to our register, come over to the computer, let's order it here. And not only let's order it here, but what I'd like to do is I want to give you 10% off, free shipping back to the store. And when you come in to pick it up, we'll give you an additional, 10% off any purchase at that time. Do you see where I'm going with that? Is the idea is to get them to come back so that store's numbers are higher. Well, why is it that two financial professionals are sharing that with you? And yet the young people who are in charge of multi-million-dollar operations on some level don't even know. So how do you make sure that your young person gets ahead in the game of careers and jobs when their mindset is all geared towards the non-interpersonal actions called going online? My opinion is show examples. Take them with you on your appointments to your financial professionals, to your insurance company, to your auto insurance professional. Today, a lot of it is done online, but go inside. Say, hey, you know what? I don't normally come in. I usually do this over email, but it's time to check on our limits and our payments, and I'd like to bring my daughter or my son with me. And they can ask questions and learn a little bit about what's happening with the policies. So they're one day when they have to pay their own insurance, auto or home or whatever it is, life maybe, that they actually have questions and they're comfortable with that environment, with the people, with the questions to ask, and not just doing some online search where they miss layers.
I think it's very interesting you're bringing this up because I just had a conversation recently in the morning. I was taking my son somewhere and he asked me about insurance, and we take it for granted, I think, in a lot of cases, all the zeros behind the number that matters when we're talking about policies and coverage. And I said something to the tune of $300,000, and my son's eyes got this big. And I said, well, that's not a lot of money, but to me, because we see those numbers all the time. And when I shared that with him, and then we broke down the different parts of an auto insurance policy and if someone's at fault versus the other person and all of the other things that come into play, he was fascinated and he was curious. And I didn't really think, oh, this is kind of a boring conversation, for a Saturday morning drive. And, I want to spend time with my son and talk about interesting things. But he took a huge interest in that part of our conversation. And I was actually impressed. And it made me feel good to share those things with him, because who else is going to do that? They're going to, normally a person of his generation, and there's nothing wrong with this, but look at the difference. I used to sit with somebody and get advice on how much coverage I should have based on my financial life. I'm sure Arif's done the same. We have somebody helping us do that. Now, today's generation will go online. They'll look for the, quote unquote cheapest rates. They'll click an ad on the side because they're not scared to do that. We would be, hey, we're not going to click that. We don't know that person. We don't know that company. But the DIY generation is coming. It's coming fast. They will click on anything out there, and they'll never have that interpersonal conversation or that relationship.
So make sure that you kind of bridge that a little bit. And here's why. Maybe they are the future. Maybe that's the way it's going to be in 15 or 20 or 30 years. But they have to get there. They have to get from now until that student loan is paid off. They have to get here from now until they're financially independent and don't have to worry about a job or a boss or anything. They have to get to the place where their value to the organization is assumed and not expected to be demonstrated. So they're going to have to deal with people like me and you. They're going to have to deal with older people that are in their mid-30s, 40s, 50s, 60s that have not grown up in this generation that think that everything is a click, right? When my 2-year-old sat on my lap, right? I don't know, I guess he's 17, so 15 years ago, and I'm going on the computer. I'm looking at whatever I'm looking at, and he goes, Daddy, click on that, click on that. And I thought, oh my gosh, my 2-year-old knows the word click.
Right.
And today, look at how many parents babysit their kids with an iPad or a tablet. Drive down the street and see how many people have that TV screen on in the back, and they're going to the grocery store. Look, I'm not here to debate the social changes that are here. I'm here to tell you that they're here. And how do you want your kid to be able to beat them? Because your child is going to be competing with them. You understand that? And if your child doesn't have their head in a phone and lives in the world of clicking and internet, then they're going to have a leg or two up on the other person, because the bosses, the owners of these companies, are still the older generation. So teach them that opportunity to get in there, to make a difference, to make a change, to be able to communicate in a world, and to not be intimidated by these numbers. I think everybody should take like an accounting 101 class, and a business 101, and an insurance 101, right? Where you sit down and you just talk about the financial, this is what car insurance is, this is what comprehensive and collision, and this is what deductibles are. Really? This is why, this is what a premium is. This is why the Obamacare thing, everybody thinks people are covered, $20 million. Those are the same people. Like nearly 2/3 of the people that they say are covered under Obamacare were already covered, or chose not to have insurance and were forced to be covered. So when you force somebody to get coverage, many of them are going to get coverage. When you give people the choice, i.e. America, then they're not going to choose to be covered. And that's their choice. So maybe there will be more people uninsured, but that'll be their choice, because pre-existing conditions aren't going to be there anymore. And I can bet you your young person knows that word pre-existing condition. They might even know the word deductible. But do they know the word in-network, out-of-network? The words in-network, out-of-network? Copay? Maybe. But that's the world they're going to be living in. So sit down with them. We're going to be developing a class here in the next few weeks. So you'll be getting that here with us. And that class that we're going to be developing and talking about will help you, I think, bring your young person, your 20-something-year-old, maybe even 17, 18. They have to be mature enough to be able to sit in and pay attention and not be doing it, because you bribed them to do it. But sitting in the class and learning some of these basic terms, and the money basics is what we call it. So we'll be coming to you with that class coming up here shortly. Okay, let's do one more, Jeff. Understand this. When you're dealing with your young person, it all begins with a budget. I don't care how much money they are earning, a budget. And just because they come out of school and they're home and they go, Mom, Dad, you don't understand how hard I've been working for 4 years. I'm going to take a couple months off. No problem. Are you eating for the next couple months? Did you plan on driving a car and paying for car insurance? So unless you have money, you don't get a couple months off. I've been working 15 years. I don't get a couple months off. I'm going to take a couple months off. Why? I've been working for 15 years. You know how hard it is to work? You went to school for 4 years with weekends and holidays off. So that's a nice, cute thing that they say. But the truth is, if they're going to be spending money, they need to get a job. But there just isn't a job that I like. So I don't know what that means. That means you don't have a job then? I don't care if you like it. There's no rule that says you have to be in love with what you do. You have to show up on time. You have to work hard. A friend of mine shared with me recently, a young lady, a college grad, came to work for her. Everything was explained. It was all great, laid out. She took lunch and didn't come back.
Oh.
And they called and they said, well, what happened? She said, well, I decided I wanted to make more money. But you knew that, right? And you probably still expect to be paid for those 3 or 4 hours before lunch. So what does that mean? You just didn't show up? That is a deep integrity thing. That goes beyond the basics of, oh, you know what, this doesn't work for me.
How about go back in after lunch and say, I've given it some thought and I'd like to renegotiate? I don't know.
I would respect that a whole lot more than somebody who just doesn't show up and they're like, hey, where is she? Did she get hit by a truck? I don't know.
Yeah.
Where'd she go? So keep in mind that there's going to be character flaws that your young person has, and you already know what they are because you raised them, that you're going to have to deal with and maybe tell them, listen, We forgive those in our family. We know that that's just the way you are, flaky or sleep in or messy room or whatever. But that doesn't work in your workspace.
Right.
That doesn't work in your job when they expect you there at 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 in the morning, right? They expect you to show up, work hard, be on time, be honest, not steal. Those things are very important. And you can't say to your young person, well, it's nice that we forgave those character flaws, but now today your boss will not. They're going to have to straighten up very quickly. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back in a minute. I want to get into some more financial educational advice, if you will, for that College 101 grad that's coming home. We're going to get into a little bit of a budget and how that breaks down as well. Your place for news, talk, and information. I'm Arif Halaby. That's Jeff Girard. This is AM 1220 KHTS, your hometown station. Hey, welcome back to the show, Total Financial Solutions, Safer Money Hour. I'm Arif Halaby along with Jeff Girard on your place for news, talk, and information. Total Financial Solutions here on KHTS hometown station. What about your financial life? As we wrap up this hour of the program, your family has to figure out a couple of things. What kind of responsibility are your young people, your college grads, or even if they're just home for the summer, what responsibility do they have to work to find something to do? Listen, I don't care if it's babysitting, if it's dog walking, if it's house sitting where they're watering plants and taking care of the animals. There has to be something somewhere that they do that keep them busy and not sleeping in until 10, 11, 12 o'clock, playing video games until 1 in the morning. There has to be something, and you have to be firm. Enough with the parent guilt trip, especially if you're divorced. My gosh, I have seen such an enormous amount of guilt that comes from parents that are separated or divorced,
Yes.
where they forgive behavior they would never forgive. And look, after like age 5, your kids figured it out. They know to play that card. They know to play that game. You have to shake them out of it, get them into counseling or tell them to grow up. And I don't know what it is, but you got to do something, because we all have messed up as a parent. I don't care where you are, too much, too little, not enough. We've done it. From discipline, making mistakes, to eating their veggies, to getting freedom, or not too much freedom, too much, not enough, right? So, okay, and meanwhile, your kids are not stupid. They figured it out. They know life. It's easy to find out anything about anything. Knowledge is abundant. Wisdom is scarce. You have wisdom. Don't forget to impart that. Knowledge is everywhere. Your knowledge of how the moon, circles the earth, fine, that's out there. That's done. We got it. What about your ability to impart wisdom to keep them from making dumb financial decisions? Well, it happens in a couple of ways. Start with the budget. Feel free to let them know. Hey guys, this is a budget. This is what me and your dad or me and your mom work on. We sit down and we say, this is what we do each month. This is how much money comes in. This is how much money goes out. This is what our house payment is. Now you might say, well, that's too personal. I don't want Jimmy or Susie to know that. No problem. Then create a fake budget for you and your family and say, we're not comfortable with sharing with you our details, but we'll share with you. This is let's play pretend. Let's say dad makes this much and mom makes this much, and this is right. You could do that, but a real one has to be done for them. Right now, for the next 3 months, me and your dad are going to pay your car insurance, and then the next month, or the next 2 months or 3 months, we're going to pay 2/3 of it. Then we're going to pay half of it. Then we're going to pay. You can do that. So slowly the responsibility of these dollars are going to be transferring from you to them. Mom, Dad, but you don't understand. And they're going to whine, and they're going to figure one of you, because one of you is the softie, right? They're going to figure one of you is the one they're going to go, Dad says, and, you just don't know how hard it is to find a job. No problem. I'll go with you. No. Oh, yes. Jobs.com, whatever website, and look at how many jobs, a receptionist, janitor, I don't care. Soup to nuts. Well, that's not what I want to do. Oh, so now it's changed.
Right.
It's no longer that the jobs aren't available. It's the job that fits in your little box. Monday through Friday, Martin Luther King and Memorial Day and Labor Day off. And I want to, my 2 weeks vacation and when we had a young person come into my office, he had his bachelor's in business. Smart kid, actually, did pretty well. Mm-hmm. Came in. And we were hiring him for, I don't know, one of the positions. We had a hiring spot. This was about 12 years ago. Sat in my office, and he said, I said, okay, well, it's great. We interviewed him. Good young man. I thought he'd be an asset to the company. And he said, I said, so what do you think that you want to make? What kind of income are you thinking about? Where does it go? And he said, I'm thinking about a couple of things. One, I'd like to start off at about $70,000 a year. I know it's not very much, but I'd like to start off at $70,000 a year. And I said, so when you went to your private school and you were paying $30,000 a year, how long did it take for you to figure out your classes and where everything was? And he said, well, it took me probably one semester, maybe 6 months, let's call it. I said, okay. So did you pay them to learn, or did they pay you? He said, well, I paid them. I said, you can't even tell me where the bathroom or the stapler is. What do you mean I'm supposed to pay you that kind of money when you haven't made a dollar for the company? Now, do you realize just as much as the company can fire you with very little warning, now depending on the size of the company, they have to give you warning, but a company can fire you with very little warning. Do you realize you don't have to give them any warning? Why is that a one-way street? You can leave at any time, and the company's like, uh-oh, you left after lunch. I never saw you again or before lunch. And then the other person says, well, I need to be noticed. I've been there for 17 years, and they didn't give me severance or 2 weeks. Well, look, why don't you do this? When you quit your next job, work for the next 2 weeks for free. That's your severance back to the company. Oh, you wouldn't do that, huh? Look, I'm not saying employee rights aren't in there somewhere, but you got to think also as the employer. Why would an employer take a chance on you? Follow me? You wouldn't work for 2 weeks for free. Why do you want severance for 2 weeks or 2 months or 2 years? Just get away from being this dependent on the government or a company. Well, it's not right. I've given 15 years of my life. They paid you for 15 years or 25 or 55 years. I got it. Whether you did good with the money or you blew it, I don't know. That's your own business. But it was a two-way street. And if you didn't like it after 15 minutes, you could have left. So teach your kids to be grateful for what they do and then give them a chance to go out and start on their own. Listen, son, you can live with us for the next 6 months, 2 years, whatever, as long as you're buying rental property, investing in the market, in your 401k, starting a business, creating your own Roth IRA. I don't know. Set up rules. And they say, well, you know what? So I'm willing to be a stepping stool for your ladder for a period of time. But don't make this a lifetime event where they fail to launch. That's actually a syndrome. It's called failure to launch. Did you know that?
I've heard of it.
Yeah. Incredible to me. I don't know what. And they said that adolescence has now been moved to age 25.
We're still calling adults kids at 26. I mean, look what we're engendering. And look, if you're going to be paying for your young person or your child or whatever you want to call that 24, 25-year-old anyway, and you're going to give them food, shelter, clothing anyway, I love that idea that you had, Arif, where you say, this is your dry run without calling it that. I need to see your income if you're working. I need to see your expenses or what you think you're going to spend that money on. And not so that you can tell them what they can't spend it on. Make a budget a good thing. This is what you can spend.
Right.
But you're going to pay yourself first. The money's going to come in. Sorry, I back up. You're going to pay the government first. Then you're going to pay yourself. But make sure you, right after Uncle Sam, pay yourself before the dry cleaners, before the gas station, before the movie theater, before the amusement park, before right? Because you have to pay yourself. No one's going to take care of you as well as you can. So if you engender that systematized saving where they spend less than they earn because they don't have a choice. Otherwise, they're going to be on your couch till they're 50. You have to do that with them. It's incumbent upon you to teach them what to do with their money because they don't know what they're doing. You wouldn't give them a Ferrari or a Lamborghini or some 1,000 horsepower car and say, here you go, you got a license, go ahead. You wouldn't do that, right? You have to step into that. The same thing happens with money because having more of it doesn't mean less problems. It actually means more problems. Yeah,
it means different things pop into the world of income and taxes, etc. The first $40,000, $50,000 in income, depending on who you are, maybe 30, 40, 50. The state of California barely taxes any of it. In fact, probably very little. So there's less of a draw from the federal government than you think, and certainly very little from the state of California. So how do you teach them that they now are responsible? Because Social Security will be almost irrelevant when your 22-year-old is 65 or 70.
Right.
Most likely they will have to be 70 or 72 before they get any real benefits. Number one. Number two is it's probably going to be subsidy for the poor, meaning Oh, you couldn't be successful there in your own investments. You lost your money 15 times. Oh, sorry, you never worked for a company that had a retirement account, or you didn't put money in it, or you lost. On and on and on and on. And now, your last case scenario, it's basically like a welfare. Expect Social Security to probably be like that 40 or 50 years from now. The only reason why is because it has to be filled by young people, because older people, retirees, are taking it out. But if young people are not working or putting money in, or they're working where they are not paying into Social Security, then there is no money coming in to the backside, right? So where do those dollars come in? I don't know. I think we have to be careful with that.
We have to be really careful. And then another point I want to make when it comes to saving is I've seen young people, they'll save an amount of money and then they think, oh, that's my till. I can go dip into that anytime I want. Great. You can do that with part of your savings. Just like you tell your young person when they go to the store and they have $1 or $5 or $10, they don't spend it all in the candy aisle. Save some for a rainy day. That's the challenge I'm having right now with my daughter and my youngest son, is that when they have it, it's burning a hole in their pockets. We have to kind of train them out of that. It doesn't change. If you don't change it now, it's not going to change magically in 13, 15, or 18 years from now. So showing them, look, when you save money, put part of it, when you've paid yourself first, part of it for emergencies. If you need new tires and mommy and daddy aren't here to do that for you, you're going to have to find the money from somewhere, whether you borrow it on a credit card, but you're still going to have to pay that back. So set up an emergency account, and then if you can also set up maybe a spending account on the side for, opportunities, that's fine, but also put retirement in there as well. Because wouldn't it be nice to only have to save 2, 3, 4% of your income for the next 40 years versus someone that starts saving 10 minutes before retirement and they have to save most of their income.
Yeah.
They can't spend it. Just some ideas.
That longer term savings is a much nicer way to develop habits, because being wealthy is a habit. Wealthy people having lots of money have figured it out. Not when they were $20 million, oh, now I'm going to be wealthy. No, they start when you have $10.
Right.
Just like being broke is a habit. Literally, do you understand? Being poor, never having money, being broke is a habit for some people. I understand the extremes. Oh, I inherited $5 billion, or, I make $10 an hour and I spend, $50. I get it. But most of us are not in the extremes. So do your research, plan it well. You can go to hometownstation.com and click on Total Financial Solutions. We'll be happy to help. I'm Arif Halaby. That's Jeff Girard on AM 1220 KHTS.